Hello and welcome to the Deep Space Relax channel. The world outside can feel fast and noisy, but here everything slows down. This is a peaceful space where curious minds can gently drift into sleep or simply learn something new while resting. Tonight, we are not only observing forests, caves, and oceans from a distance, we are stepping inside them to uncover some of nature's most enchanting secrets. We will explore wonders that most people never witness. A flower that blooms just once in its entire lifetime. Stones that appear to move on their own. Storms that have lasted for centuries. And trees older than whole civilizations. We will travel softly, fact by fact, through deserts that suddenly burst into color, rivers that flow beneath the sea, and the quiet, almost impossible ways life survives in every corner of Earth. And some of what you hear tonight may surprise you. Some of it may linger in your mind, like the scent of rain after a warm summer storm. And before we begin, if these calm and curious journeys help you relax or bring a gentle close to your day, you might consider liking and subscribing or simply sharing a thought in the comments. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. Now, if you are ready, let us begin. A single teaspoon of soil can contain more living beings than there are people on Earth. Beneath your feet exists a hidden world that you rarely notice. In just 1 teaspoon of healthy soil, there can be billions of microscopic organisms, including bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and countless tiny creatures such as nematodes and mites. This living network breaks down fallen leaves, recycles nutrients, and even communicates with plants through chemical signals. Many of these organisms are far too small to see clearly, yet together they form the foundation of every land-based ecosystem. Without them, plants would struggle to survive, and the entire chain of life above the ground would collapse. Scientists continue to discover new species within soil samples, life forms that have never been named or studied before. It is humbling to realize that beneath the sole of your shoe lies a bustling city of life so vast it surpasses the entire human population, quietly working every moment to keep our planet alive. Some plants can move quickly enough to capture prey. Most plants grow and shift so slowly that we rarely notice their movement, stretching and bending over days or even weeks. But a few species move with surprising speed, if fast enough to trap unsuspecting insects. The Venus flytrap, for example, can snap its leaves shut in less than a second when tiny trigger hairs inside the trap are touched twice in quick succession. Sundews curl their sticky leaves inward, while water-wheel plants spin their traps beneath the surface of ponds. These movements occur because of rapid changes in water pressure inside plant cells, activated by physical contact. To an insect, everything happens in an instant. One moment it is exploring, and the next it is captured. These plants grow in nutrient-poor soils, so catching and digesting prey provides the nitrogen they need to survive. Watching this process can feel strangely unsettling, almost as if the plant has made a conscious decision. Some trees can survive for thousands of years in quiet and remote corners of the world. There are trees so ancient that entire civilizations have risen and fallen during their lifetime. The bristle-cone pines of the American West are among the oldest known living trees, with some individuals exceeding 4,000 years in age. They grow slowly, twisting into sculpted shapes under constant wind and snow. Their bark appears weathered and worn, yet life still flows beneath the surface. Inside each tree's core lies a living record of every year that has passed. Wet years and dry years, storms and seasons, all preserved in narrow rings of wood. These trees survive by adapting, allowing parts of themselves to die back during harsh conditions, then growing again when the environment becomes more favorable. When you stand beside one of these ancient giants, you are standing next to a living being that began growing before the pyramids were built and is still quietly producing new leaves with every passing spring. Certain fungi can control the behavior of insects. Deep within tropical forest undergrowth, an unusual and unsettling process takes place. The Ophiocordyceps fungus infects ants and other insects, spreading throughout their bodies. Once inside, it releases chemical compounds that alter the insect's behavior, forcing it to leave its colony and climb toward an elevated, exposed location. There, the fungus kills its host and grows a stalk from the insect's body, releasing spores into the air to infect new victims below. This process is not random. The height and placement are ideal for spreading spores as far and wide as possible. To us, it feels almost like science fiction, a parasite taking control of its host's nervous system and turning it into a moving tool for its own reproduction. Yet this phenomenon is a natural part of the rainforest's intricate web of life, both unsettling and fascinating in its accuracy and design. There are places where it rains fish. In a small town in Honduras called Lloro, residents have a name for a rare but astonishing event, lluvia de peces, the rain of fish. Several times each year, usually after powerful thunderstorms, people discover small fish flopping across streets and fields. Scientists believe that strong winds or waterspouts may lift fish from nearby rivers or coastal waters and carry them inland before dropping them with the rain. Some locals view it as a miracle, while others treat it as an unusual, natural occurrence. Similar reports have appeared in other parts of the world involving frogs, crabs, and even jellyfish. To witness such an event must feel surreal, to hear rain falling and then see the ground shimmering with living creatures tumbling down from the sky. Some animals can survive being frozen solid. In the far north, certain creatures can pause their lives in one of the most extreme ways imaginable, by freezing completely. The wood frog of Alaska, for example, can allow up to 2/3 of the water in its body to turn into ice during winter. Its heart stops beating, its blood stops circulating, and yet it is not dead. Special compounds in its body, such as glucose and urea, act as natural antifreeze, preventing its cells from bursting. When spring arrives and temperatures rise, the frog thaws out, its heart begins to beat again, and it hops away as if nothing unusual ever happened. Some insects, fish, and even microscopic tardigrades use similar survival strategies. It is a method that seems impossible, yet nature has refined it over millions of years, allowing life to persist in regions where winter feels more like months of deep, unbroken freeze. Lightning strikes Earth millions of times every day. Across the globe, lightning is flashing somewhere at this very moment. Scientists estimate that roughly 8 million strikes occur daily, more than 90 every second. These bolts form when electrical charges build up inside storm clouds or between clouds and the ground. The air surrounding a strike heats to over 30,000 degrees Celsius in an instant, hotter than the surface of the sun. That sudden burst of heat causes the air to expand explosively, creating thunder. Lightning does not only light up the sky, it also plays a role in Earth's chemistry, helping form compounds such as nitrogen oxides that plants depend on. In tropical regions where storms are frequent, the night horizon often flickers with distant flashes, a quiet reminder that the atmosphere is constantly alive with energy. Some fish can walk on land. In tidal zones and swampy environments, certain fish have learned to move beyond the water's edge. The mudskipper, found in parts of Asia and Africa, uses its strong pectoral fins to walk across muddy flats while searching for food and avoiding predators. It can breathe through its skin and the lining of its mouth and throat as long as it stays moist. Other fish, such as the climbing perch, can survive out of water for days and even travel between ponds. These unusual adaptations allow them to exploit environments where purely aquatic fish cannot survive. Watching a fish pull itself along the ground feels almost like witnessing evolution in motion, a glimpse of the ancient past when life was first testing the boundaries of land. The Amazon rainforest makes its own rain. The Amazon is so vast and dense that it creates its own weather system. Each day, the forest releases billions of liters of water vapor into the air through a process known as transpiration. This moisture rises, cools, and condenses into clouds, which later fall back as rain, nourishing the very forest that produced it. This cycle helps the Amazon remain green and lush even during drier months. It also influences weather far beyond South America, affecting rainfall patterns thousands of kilometers away. The scale is difficult to imagine. From above, the rainforest breathes out enormous plumes of moisture, shaping its own climate and acting like a giant heart, pumping water into the atmosphere. There are rivers that flow beneath the ocean. Below the waves, where sunlight fades, rivers can still exist and move. These underwater rivers are not made of fresh water, but of dense, salty, or sediment-rich currents that travel along the seafloor. One example can be found in the Black Sea, where a powerful current winds for more than 100 kilometers beneath the surface. These rivers carve channels, transport nutrients, and shape the seabed just like rivers on land. They often form where bodies of water with different salinities meet, creating a boundary where heavier water sinks and flows separately. Divers who have explored them describe an eerie sensation of swimming through one river inside another, with visible layers drifting side by side in the dim underwater light. Some deserts bloom with flowers overnight. Deserts can appear lifeless, yet their soils often hide seeds resting dormant for years, waiting patiently for the perfect moment. After a rare soaking rainfall, these seeds can begin to grow almost instantly. Within hours or days, the empty ground transforms into a living carpet of color. Yellows, purples, and reds spread across the land as thousands of plants bloom at the same time. The spectacle usually lasts only a short while before the heat returns, drying the flowers and scattering seeds to prepare for the next cycle. In places like the Atacama Desert in Chile, these super blooms can even be seen from space, an explosion of life set against one of the harshest landscapes on Earth. It is nature's reminder that even in the most unlikely places, beauty and abundance can appear in a single moment. There are lakes that never freeze, even in the coldest winters. Some lakes seem to defy the seasons. In icy regions, most water surfaces lock into thick ice, yet a few lakes remain liquid throughout the entire year. This happens for several reasons. Some are supplied by warm underground springs that keep the water above freezing temperatures. Others are extremely deep, with warmer layers below that help regulate surface conditions. In volcanic regions, geothermal heat rises upward, creating pockets of open water even when the surrounding landscape is frozen solid. These lakes become vital havens for wildlife during winter, attracting birds and mammals that come to drink and feed. In the quiet stillness of a snowy plain, the sight of open, rippling water feels almost magical, a reminder that warmth can hide in unexpected places, sustaining life against overwhelming odds. Coral reefs are built by tiny animals. When you imagine a coral reef, you might think of colorful rock-like formations filled with fish. But the reef itself is alive, constructed by countless tiny creatures known as coral polyps. Each polyp secretes a hard skeleton made of calcium carbonate. Over centuries, these skeletons accumulate into massive structures. New generations of polyps grow on top of the old ones, forming a living city beneath the sea. Coral reefs provide food and shelter for thousands of species and act as nurseries for many types of fish. Although delicate, they can stretch for hundreds of kilometers, such as the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. From above, they appear as bright patterns in deep blue water. Up close, every ridge and curve is the work of animals no larger than a grain of rice, slowly shaping the ocean floor layer by tiny layer. Some birds can fly for months without landing. The common swift is one of nature's most tireless travelers. After leaving the nest, it may remain in the air for months without touching the ground, eating, sleeping, and even mating while in flight. Scientists have tracked swifts migrating thousands of kilometers, looping between continents and riding air currents to save energy. They can sleep in short bursts, gliding while part of their brain rests. Other species, such as certain albatrosses, also travel enormous distances over open oceans without landing, using wind patterns to remain airborne. To imagine living in the sky for so long is to view life from an entirely different perspective, one where land becomes a distant concept and the horizon is the only constant. The air in forests can act like a natural medicine. Step into a forest, breathe deeply, and you may feel an almost immediate sense of calm. Part of this effect comes from chemicals released by trees called phytoncides. These compounds help protect plants from pests and disease, but when humans inhale them, they can reduce stress hormones and even strengthen immune function. In Japan, this practice of spending mindful time among trees is known as Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing. The effect is not only psychological. Studies have shown measurable health benefits after time spent in wooded environments. It is as if the forest shares a small portion of its resilience with us, a quiet exchange between two living beings carried through the air itself. Volcanoes can create new islands. When an underwater volcano erupts, molten rock can accumulate until it rises above the surface of the ocean, forming entirely new land. These volcanic islands often begin as barren, steaming rock, but over time, winds and ocean currents carry seeds, birds, and marine organisms, starting the slow process of colonization. Some islands disappear again as waves erode them, while others grow into permanent homes for plants, animals, and even people. In 1963, an eruption off the coast of Iceland created the island of Surtsey, which became a living laboratory for scientists studying how ecosystems form from nothing. To watch a whole island emerge where there was once only open water is to witness Earth reshaping itself in real time. Some animals can regrow entire limbs. If a salamander loses a leg, it can grow a new one, complete with bones, muscles, nerves, and skin. Certain species can even regenerate parts of their heart, eyes, or spinal cord. Starfish are also capable of regrowing lost arms, and if the central body remains intact, some species can regenerate an entirely new starfish from a single limb. This extraordinary ability comes from specialized cells that can transform into any type of tissue needed. Humans share some of the same genetic pathways, but ours are far less active. Scientists study these animals in hopes of discovering new ways to heal serious injuries in people. In nature, regeneration is more than a curiosity. It is a survival strategy that allows creatures to escape predators and recover from damage that would be permanent for most forms of life. Glaciers can move like rivers of ice. Although they appear frozen in place, glaciers are constantly moving. Gravity pulls them downhill, and over months and years the ice flows like an incredibly slow river. The speed can be just a few centimeters per day, or in rare surges, several meters. As glaciers move, they grind rock into fine powder, carve valleys, and reshape entire landscapes. When they retreat, they leave behind lakes, ridges, and fertile soils. Observing a glacier move in real time is nearly impossible without special equipment. However, satellite imagery and time-lapse photography reveal their steady and relentless motion, reminding us that even the most solid features on Earth are never truly still. There are caves filled with giant crystals. In northern Mexico lies the Cave of the Crystals, a hidden chamber discovered in the year 2000 beneath an active mine. Inside are some of the largest natural crystals ever found. Selenite columns reach lengths of up to 15 meters, glowing softly in the dim light. The cave's extreme heat and humidity make it dangerous to enter without protective equipment. Those who have visited describe the experience as stepping into a dreamlike world where the walls themselves appear alive with light. These crystals formed over hundreds of thousands of years in mineral-rich water kept at a constant temperature. They stand as an otherworldly reminder of the slow and patient artistry of geology. Some plants communicate through underground networks. Beneath the forest floor, fungi create vast systems of thin threads called mycelium, linking the roots of different plants together. Through this wood wide web, plants can share nutrients, transmit chemical signals, and even warn one another about pests and environmental threats. A tree under attack might release signals that encourage its neighbors to produce protective compounds, or an older tree may send sugars to a shaded sapling nearby. This cooperation blurs the boundary between individual and community, revealing a hidden layer of intelligence within ecosystems. What appeared to be a quiet forest from above is, beneath the surface, alive with constant silent communication. There are forests growing on floating islands. In certain lakes and wetlands, mats of soil, roots, and vegetation can break away from the shoreline and drift across the water. Over time, grasses and shrubs take hold, and even trees can grow, their roots weaving through the floating mass. Some of these islands are small enough to move with the wind, while others anchor themselves temporarily before breaking free again. These floating forests provide shelter for birds, insects, and fish below, and some can last for decades. In parts of the world, they are woven into local folklore, described as places that appear and disappear with the seasons. They serve as a reminder that even something as rooted as a forest can learn how to wander. Certain butterflies can see colors humans can't. Our eyes detect three main colors of light, red, green, and blue, which combine to form all the shades we perceive. But some butterflies have far more complex eyes with receptors for additional colors, including ultraviolet. This ability allows them to see patterns on flowers and even on other butterflies that remain invisible to us. These hidden markings help them locate food, recognize potential mates, or avoid predators. To imagine what they see is to picture a world painted with colors we have no words for, a spectrum beyond human experience, yet as real as sunlight warming our skin. Some animals can change their sex to survive. In certain fish species, such as clownfish and wrasses, sex is not fixed. If the dominant female in a group dies, the largest male may transform into a female to take her place. In other species, individuals switch from female to male instead, ensuring the population can continue reproducing. These changes are not only behavioral. The animals' bodies undergo deep biological transformations, altering hormone levels, reproductive organs, and even outward appearance. It is a survival strategy shaped by millions of years of evolution, allowing species to adapt quickly to the needs of their community. The tallest waves in the ocean can form without storms. Most waves are created by wind, but rogue waves can appear suddenly, rising high above the surrounding sea without any storm to signal their arrival. These giants form when smaller waves merge and combine their energy, producing a single wall of water that can be twice as tall as nearby waves. Once believed to be sailors' legends, rogue waves have now been recorded by satellites and ocean buoys, with some reaching heights of more than 30 meters. They are rare, yet extremely dangerous, powerful enough to damage massive ships. Out in the open ocean, they can appear and vanish within moments, reminding us that the sea holds surprises even during calm weather. There are flowers that bloom only once every few decades. Some plants spend many years, and sometimes even decades, preparing for a single flowering event. The agave, for example, can take up to 30 years to bloom, sending up a tall stalk covered in blossoms before dying shortly afterward. In the Himalayas, the rare Himalayan lily waits patiently for ideal conditions before opening its pale flowers. These long waiting periods often coincide with mass flowering events, overwhelming pollinators and ensuring that seeds are spread far and wide. It is a risky strategy, but for plants that succeed, it allows them to leave behind countless offspring in one brilliant and fleeting moment. Some lakes change color depending on the season. In certain locations, the same lake may appear deep blue in summer, green in spring, or even pink at different times of the year. These color shifts are usually caused by changes in algae growth, mineral content, or the way sunlight scatters through the water. For example, Australia's Lake Hillier is famous for its bubblegum pink color throughout the year due to unique microorganisms, while other lakes change as algae populations rise and fall. Standing along the shore, it can be difficult to believe the water has not been artificially colored, yet it is all the work of natural chemistry, painting the surface in seasonal shades. Certain animals never stop growing. While most creatures reach a fixed adult size, some continue to grow throughout their entire lives, a trait known as indeterminate growth. Many species of fish, reptiles, and amphibians increase in size each year as long as they have enough food and survive long enough. This is why giant catfish, turtles, or crocodiles in the wild can reach extraordinary sizes. It also means that the largest individuals are often the oldest, carrying decades of experience within their slow and deliberate movements. Earth's magnetic field helps animals find their way, from sea turtles crossing entire oceans to birds migrating between continents. Many animals can sense Earth's magnetic field. This sixth sense comes from specialized cells or magnetic particles inside their bodies, allowing them to navigate even when familiar landmarks are not visible. Some species use this ability as a backup system when clouds hide the stars or the sun. Although the exact mechanisms are still being studied, experiments show that changing magnetic signals can alter an animal's direction. It is as if they carry an invisible compass tuned directly to the planet itself. There are trees that can walk to find sunlight. In parts of Central and South America, the walking palm grows multiple stilt-like roots that slowly replace one another. If one side of the tree becomes shaded, it grows new roots toward the light and allows the older ones to die away, gradually shifting the position of its trunk over time. While it does not truly walk across the forest, it can move several centimeters each year, enough to reach better growing conditions. It is a slow-motion form of movement that challenges our idea of plants as completely fixed in one place. Some plants can store water for years. In the harshest environments, survival often depends on finding water where none seems to exist. Certain plants, such as the African baobab or desert succulents, store huge reserves of water inside their trunks, stems, or leaves. A swollen baobab trunk can hold thousands of liters, allowing the tree to survive years of drought. These reserves also support birds, insects, and mammals during dry seasons. In landscapes where rain may not fall for months or even years, these plants become living reservoirs, holding life within them until the land turns green again. There are forests growing on floating islands. In certain lakes, marshes, and wetlands, sections of land can break free from the shoreline and drift away, carrying their vegetation with them. These floating islands often begin as mats of tangled roots and soil, usually formed when heavy rains or floods loosen the edges of the shore. Over time, grasses, shrubs, and even full-grown trees can take root on these platforms, their weight supported by the buoyancy of the dense root network beneath. Some are small enough to shift with every breeze, while others grow large enough to host entire miniature forests. They become safe havens for nesting birds and insects, offering protection from land predators. In some regions, local legends describe islands that appear and disappear with the seasons, silently drifting across the water. Watching a forest move, even slowly, feels like witnessing something impossible, a reminder that even the most grounded landscapes can choose to wander. Certain butterflies can see colors humans can't. The human eye is tuned to 3 primary colors: red, green, and blue. From these, we perceive the entire visible spectrum. But certain butterflies, such as the painted lady or the Colin blue bottle, possess far more advanced vision. Their eyes contain additional types of photoreceptor cells that detect ultraviolet light, allowing them to see colors and patterns invisible to humans. On flowers, these hidden patterns guide them directly to nectar, like runway lights guiding an aircraft to land. On other butterflies, ultraviolet markings can signal health, readiness to mate, or warnings to stay away. We cannot truly imagine what their world looks like, but scientists believe it would feel like adding entirely new hues to the rainbow, colors without names, patterns that shift with changing light, and a constant glow on flowers that appear ordinary to our eyes. Some animals can change their sex to survive. In the underwater world, social balance often plays a key role in survival. Clownfish, for instance, live in small groups led by one dominant female. If she dies, the largest male transforms into a female, taking her position and maintaining the continuity of the group. Certain wrasses and parrotfish change in the opposite direction, switching from female to male when the social hierarchy requires it. These transitions involve major hormonal shifts, the restructuring of reproductive organs, and sometimes even changes in body color or overall size. This is not a temporary disguise, but a permanent transformation. This adaptation ensures that regardless of what happens to the group structure, reproduction can continue. To humans, it may seem unusual, but within these ecosystems, it is simply a practical strategy shaped over millions of years that allows life to keep moving forward when conditions change. The tallest waves in the ocean can form without storms. Most people imagine huge waves created by violent weather, yet some of the ocean's tallest walls of water appear during calm days. These are known as rogue waves. They form when several smaller waves align perfectly, combining their energy into a single massive crest. This process, known as constructive interference, can generate waves twice as tall as those around them, sometimes reaching over 30 meters in height. Once considered sailors' legends, rogue waves have now been confirmed by satellite measurements and ocean sensors. They can rise from an otherwise ordinary sea within minutes and disappear just as quickly. Ships caught in their path often receive no warning. Seeing one from a ship's deck, a sudden wall of water blocking the horizon, would feel as if the ocean itself had stood upright, reminding us how unpredictable and powerful it can be even during moments of apparent calm. There are flowers that bloom only once every few decades. Some plants spend decades collecting energy for a single spectacular event. The agave, for example, grows slowly for 30 years or more before sending up a tall stalk covered in hundreds of blossoms. After flowering, it dies, leaving seeds behind for the next generation. In the Himalayas, the rare Himalayan lily waits many years for the perfect combination of temperature, sunlight, and soil moisture before opening its delicate blooms. When these plants finally flower, they often attract large numbers of pollinators, overwhelming them with abundance to ensure maximum seed dispersal. It is a high-stakes gamble, years of patience for one brief opportunity to reproduce. If the moment passes without success, the plant's long investment is lost. But when it works, the landscape transforms as if the earth itself has been saving beauty for one short and brilliant display. Some lakes change color depending on the season. In certain locations, the same body of water can shift through a wide palette of colors. Deep blue in one season, bright green in another, and sometimes even pink or red. These changes usually result from seasonal algae blooms, shifts in mineral concentrations, or the way sunlight scatters through the water. In Canada's Spotted Lake, mineral-rich pools turn shades of yellow, green and blue during summer as the water evaporates. In Australia's Lake Hillier, microorganisms give the water a bubblegum pink hue throughout the year. In other lakes, similar color changes are temporary and connected to seasonal cycles. Standing along the shoreline, it can appear as if the lake has been dyed overnight, yet it is entirely the work of natural chemistry, a reminder that landscapes can transform dramatically without a single human hand involved. Certain animals never stop growing. While most species reach a fixed adult size, some creatures continue to grow throughout their entire lives, a trait known as indeterminate growth. Many fish, reptiles, and amphibians increase in size each year as long as they have enough food and avoid injury or disease. Giant catfish in Southeast Asia, for example, can grow longer than 2 meters, while saltwater crocodiles can continue growing for decades, eventually becoming massive apex predators. This slow and steady growth means that the largest individuals are usually the oldest, often dominating their environments through sheer size alone. These elders of their species carry decades of survival knowledge, knowing where to find food, when to avoid danger, and their presence can shape the entire ecosystem around them. Earth's magnetic field helps animals find their way. Invisible to human eyes, Earth's magnetic field surrounds the planet, guiding migratory animals like a hidden map. Sea turtles use it to cross oceans and later return to the exact beaches where they hatched. Birds travel thousands of kilometers between breeding and wintering grounds, adjusting their routes as magnetic lines slowly shift over time. Even tiny organisms, such as certain bacteria, align themselves with magnetic fields to locate optimal environments. Scientists believe this sense may come from microscopic magnetic crystals inside animal bodies or from specialized proteins in their eyes that respond to magnetic fields. Whatever the mechanism, it shows that animals experience layers of the world we cannot directly perceive, sensing forces that guide every journey they make. There are trees that can walk to find sunlight. Deep within the rainforests of Central and South America, the walking palm has developed a special way to adjust to changing light conditions. It grows multiple stilt-like roots that can extend in new directions. If part of the tree becomes shaded, it sends out new roots toward brighter areas, allowing the trunk to slowly shift its position, sometimes by several centimeters each year. Over time, older roots on the darker side die back, leaving the tree standing in a slightly different place. While it does not walk in the same way animals do, this adaptation helps it survive in dense forests, where sunlight constantly changes as surrounding plants continue to grow. It is a slow-motion migration, an almost invisible journey toward the light. Some plants can store water for years. In arid landscapes where rainfall is rare and unpredictable, certain plants have evolved to store large amounts of water inside their tissues. The baobab tree, native to parts of Africa, can hold thousands of liters within its swollen trunk, sustaining itself, along with animals and people who depend on it during long periods of drought. Desert succulents store water in thick leaves and stems, sealing it behind waxy coatings that reduce evaporation. These natural reservoirs act as lifelines for entire ecosystems, providing hydration during the harshest months. In many cases, the water stored inside these plants becomes the difference between survival and collapse for the creatures that share their environment. There are glowing bays where the water lights up at night. In a few rare coastal locations, the sea comes alive after dark with a soft, otherworldly glow. These bioluminescent bays are filled with microscopic organisms called dinoflagellates that emit light when disturbed. Every splash, paddle movement, or passing fish triggers tiny flashes, turning the water into liquid starlight. One of the most famous examples is Mosquito Bay in Puerto Rico, where the glow is so bright that you can trace the path of a swimming turtle by the light it leaves behind. This effect is caused by a chemical reaction inside the organisms, similar to the way fireflies glow on land. Calm, shallow waters and warm temperatures create ideal conditions for these glowing displays, which can be breathtaking to witness. Dip your hand into the water and lift it out, and droplets shimmer briefly before fading, as if the ocean itself is trying to keep you in its memory. Some mountains grow taller every year. Mountains may appear solid and unchanging, but some are still slowly rising. This happens because of tectonic forces deep within the Earth. Where continental plates collide, the crust is pushed upward, forming mountain ranges that continue to increase in height millimeter by millimeter each year. The Himalayas, home to Mount Everest, are still rising as the Indian plate presses into the Eurasian plate. Even though erosion gradually wears mountains down over time, in places like this, the upward force is stronger than the wearing away. In geological terms, this is considered a rapid process, although it is far too slow for humans to notice on a daily basis. Scientists can measure this growth using precise satellite data, watching mountain peaks rise slightly higher over decades. It is a reminder that even landscapes we think of as ancient and permanent are still in motion, still being shaped by the same planetary forces that created them. Certain animals can live without oxygen for months. Most living creatures on Earth require oxygen to survive, but some species have evolved to function without it for astonishing periods of time. The painted turtle, for example, can hibernate underwater in frozen lakes for more than 4 months, surviving without oxygen by slowing its metabolism and switching to anaerobic energy production. Some worms and small crustaceans living in deep, oxygen-poor sediments have adapted to extract energy in ways that completely bypass oxygen. Even more surprising, scientists have discovered tiny jellyfish-like organisms called Henneguia salminicola that lack mitochondria, meaning they never use oxygen at all. For these animals, oxygen is not just optional, it is unnecessary. Such adaptations allow them to survive in environments where most life could last only a few minutes, showing that survival can take forms we would never expect. Rainbows can appear as full circles from the air. From the ground, rainbows usually appear as arcs, with their bases hidden by the distant horizon. But when viewed from above, for example from an airplane or a high mountain, you can sometimes observe them as perfect circles. This happens because a rainbow is actually a complete ring of light formed when sunlight is refracted and reflected inside raindrops. On land, the surface blocks the lower half of the circle from view, while high in the air, with no obstacles, the entire ring becomes visible. Pilots often notice these circular rainbows, sometimes surrounding the shadow of their aircraft, a phenomenon known as a glory. It is a vivid reminder that the beauty we see is often only a fraction of the full picture, and that perspective, quite literally, can reveal a world that has existed all along, just beyond our sight. Some deserts are colder than ice. When we think of deserts, we usually imagine intense heat, but a desert is defined by dryness, not by temperature. The largest deserts on Earth, Antarctica and the Arctic, are frozen regions where precipitation is so rare that they qualify as deserts. Antarctica is the coldest, driest, and windiest place on the planet, with temperatures dropping below -70 degrees Celsius. Yet beneath the ice, microbial life survives in pockets of liquid water, and hardy lichens cling to exposed rocks. These polar deserts are just as extreme as hot deserts, with their beauty found in stark contrasts. The blinding whiteness of snow under endless summer daylight, the eerie blue glow of ice caves, and the frozen stillness that can last for centuries without change. It is a reminder that desert does not always mean sand and heat. Sometimes it means ice and silence. There are waterfalls that flow upward in strong winds. Under certain conditions, powerful gusts can catch the falling water of a tall waterfall and push it back upward, creating the surreal sight of water seemingly defying gravity. This effect is most common along coastal cliffs, where ocean winds are forced upward against the rock face. The strength of the wind can be so great that the waterfall appears to reverse, with its spray streaming into the sky. In reality, the water is not returning to its source. Instead, it is broken into fine mist and carried away. The spectacle is brief, lasting only as long as the gusts continue. But during that time, it can make a familiar landscape feel completely transformed, as if the laws of nature had temporarily shifted. Some seeds can survive for thousands of years before growing. Seeds act as nature's time capsules, protected by tough outer shells. Some can remain dormant for centuries, waiting for the right conditions to sprout. In one remarkable case, scientists revived a date palm seed found in the ruins of Masada in Israel that was nearly 2,000 years old. Certain Arctic tundra plants produce seeds that can last even longer in frozen soil. Inside, the embryo remains suspended in a state of almost zero activity, with stored nutrients carefully preserved. When warmth, moisture, and light return, the seed awakens and begins to grow, bridging vast stretches of time in a single act of renewal. It is as if the plant has been holding its breath for centuries, ready to return to life when the world is prepared. There are animals that can clone themselves. Some creatures can reproduce without mating, creating exact genetic copies of themselves. This process, known as asexual reproduction, is common in simple organisms, but it also occurs in more complex animals. Starfish can regenerate lost arms, and in some cases, an entirely new starfish can grow from a single limb. Certain freshwater hydras simply bud off miniature versions of themselves, while some insects can lay eggs that develop into clones without fertilization. In stable environments, cloning allows a species to multiply quickly without the need to find mates. The drawback is reduced genetic diversity, which can make populations more vulnerable to change. But under the right conditions, it is an extremely efficient method of ensuring survival. Certain plants can count the hours of daylight. Many plants possess an internal clock, a circadian rhythm that helps them track time. Some use this ability to measure the length of the day, a process known as photoperiodism, which tells them when to flower, grow, or shed leaves. For example, chrysanthemums bloom only when nights reach a specific length, while other plants wait for days to become long enough to guarantee summer pollination. This timing can be so precise that plants kept under artificial light cycles will still open and close their flowers at the correct moments, even without direct cues from the sun. It is a subtle form of intelligence that allows plants to synchronize their lives with the changing seasons. There are clouds heavier than mountains, A single large thundercloud can contain millions of tons of water, outweighing an entire mountain in mass. The reason this enormous weight does not fall all at once is that the water is suspended in tiny droplets or ice crystals spread across a vast area and supported by rising air currents. When conditions change, some of that water condenses and falls as rain, hail, or snow. These massive clouds can stretch for kilometers and tower high into the atmosphere, with their tops glowing white in sunlight while their undersides churn with shadow. When you see one on the horizon, it is difficult to imagine that something so light and airy could be so heavy, yet they drift overhead as effortlessly as a handful of feathers. Some creatures can survive in boiling water, in extreme environments around deep-sea hydrothermal vents. Water temperatures can rise above 100 degrees Celsius, hot enough to instantly kill most life. Yet certain microorganisms called hyperthermophils thrive in these conditions. They have evolved special proteins and cell structures that remain stable at extreme heat, allowing them to survive where others would fall apart. Some also live in the scalding runoff of geysers on land, such as those found in Yellowstone National Park. These heat-loving microbes form the foundation of entire food webs, supporting tube worms, clams, and crabs that gather around vent openings. Studying them has revealed enzymes capable of withstanding temperatures far beyond what was once believed possible for life, challenging our understanding of biology and expanding the search for life in extreme environments beyond Earth. In places where water boils and darkness reigns, they quietly flourish, proving that the limits of life are far wider than we once imagined. The ocean's deepest point is deeper than Mount Everest is tall. Far beneath the Pacific Ocean lies the Mariana Trench, home to the Challenger Deep, the deepest known point in Earth's oceans. At nearly 11 kilometers down, it is deeper than the height of Mount Everest above sea level. The pressure there is more than 1,000 times greater than at the surface, strong enough to crush most submarines. The darkness is complete, and temperatures remain just above freezing. Yet life exists even here. Tiny arthropods, unusual snailfish, and resilient microbes survive in this crushing environment, feeding on organic material that slowly drifts down from the upper layers of the ocean. Very few people have ever visited the Challenger Deep, but unmanned probes have mapped its alien landscape of slopes, trenches, and thick sediments. It is a reminder that some of Earth's most extreme frontiers remain largely unexplored, not in outer space, but in the silent depths of our own planet's oceans. Certain fish create their own underwater light shows. In the deep sea, where sunlight never reaches, many creatures produce light through bioluminescence. Some fish use this ability not only to attract prey or avoid predators, but also to communicate with one another. The flashlight fish, for example, has light-producing organs beneath its eyes that it can blink by covering them with skin flaps. Lanternfish carry glowing patterns along their bodies, which may help them recognize each other in the darkness. Some species flash in rhythmic pulses, creating patterns that resemble Morse code beneath the water. These displays can be mesmerizing, a drifting ballet of light in complete darkness, as if the ocean floor had its own constellations. In a world without sunlight, light becomes a language written in flashes and glows, telling stories we are only beginning to understand. Some plants can sense when they are being eaten. Plants may appear passive, but many can detect damage and respond almost instantly. When a caterpillar bites into a leaf, certain plants recognize specific chemicals in the insect's saliva. This triggers the release of defensive compounds, bitter or toxic substances that make the leaf far less appealing. In some cases, the plant also releases airborne signals that warn nearby plants to activate their own defenses. This ability does not involve taste buds like ours, but chemical detection at the cellular level. To an insect, it can feel as if the meal suddenly turns sour in mid-bite. This process shows that plants are far from unaware. They actively participate in their own survival, reading their environment in subtle but highly effective ways. There are places where stones move on their own. In California's racetrack playa, a dry lake bed in Death Valley, large rocks appear to slide across the ground, leaving long tracks behind them. For decades, no one understood how they moved, especially since no one had ever witnessed the motion directly. The mystery was solved when researchers discovered that under rare winter conditions, a thin layer of ice forms beneath the rocks. As the ice warms and breaks apart, gentle winds slowly push the stones across the slippery surface. The movement is so gradual that it can take hours for a rock to travel just a few meters. The result is a landscape marked with strange trails, as if the stones had taken a quiet nighttime journey across the desert floor. Certain birds can mimic almost any sound. Some birds are remarkably skilled imitators. The lyrebird of Australia can reproduce the sounds of chainsaws, camera shutters, other bird calls, and even human voices with astonishing accuracy. Mockingbirds in North America weave dozens of different sounds into their songs, copying frogs, crickets, and car alarms. These abilities serve different purposes, such as attracting mates, defending territory, or simply demonstrating dominance. Young birds often build their repertoires by carefully listening to the sounds around them. The most talented mimics can pass these learned sounds down through generations. Hearing a bird in the forest perfectly imitate the bark of a dog can be both surprising and strangely delightful, a reminder that the voices of nature are not always what they seem. Some insects can see in ultraviolet light, while humans can perceive only a narrow range of wavelengths. Many insects are able to detect ultraviolet, or UV, light, revealing patterns that remain invisible to us. Flowers often display UV markings that act as landing guides, directing pollinators straight toward their nectar. Bees, butterflies, and some beetles navigate partly by reading these patterns, which may appear to them like glowing signs in the darkness. Ultraviolet vision can also help insects spot predators or locate potential mates. For them, the world is painted with colors and contrasts that we cannot imagine. The same landscapes we know, but with an additional hidden layer of light. The Sahara Desert was once green and full of life. Thousands of years ago, the Sahara was not a vast ocean of sand, but a broad savanna filled with lakes, rivers, and grasslands. Evidence from ancient lakebeds, rock art, and fossilized pollen shows that hippos, crocodiles, and early human communities once thrived there. This green Sahara existed because changes in Earth's tilt and orbit pushed monsoon rains farther north, transforming the region. Over thousands of years, those climate patterns shifted again, drying the land into the desert we recognize today. It is a powerful example of how climate can change dramatically, reshaping entire ecosystems and influencing the path of human history. Beneath the sand, traces of this lush past remain buried, waiting to be discovered. There are storms that last for centuries. On Jupiter, the Great Red Spot, a massive storm larger than Earth itself, has been raging for at least 300 years, and possibly much longer. While storms on our planet usually last days or weeks, Jupiter's operate on a completely different scale. Powered by the planet's turbulent atmosphere and the absence of a solid surface, the storm continues to spin with winds reaching hundreds of kilometers per hour. From space, it appears as a swirling red oval, a long-lasting scar across the gas giant's cloud bands. Studying this storm helps scientists understand not only Jupiter, but also how atmospheric systems might behave on other planets. Certain frogs can turn transparent. The glass frogs of Central and South America have skin so translucent that their internal organs can be seen through it. When resting, they are able to shift blood away from their skin, becoming even more transparent, which helps them blend into surrounding leaves and avoid predators. This ability is not only a form of camouflage, it also assists in regulating body temperature and protecting them from ultraviolet light. Seeing one up close can feel unreal, as if you were observing a living anatomy model. Its heartbeat and movements are visible beneath a delicate green surface. Some trees can produce hundreds of gallons of sap in a season. Certain species, such as the sugar maple, can yield large amounts of sap each year. In late winter and early spring, when temperatures fluctuate between freezing nights and thawing days, pressure inside the tree changes, pushing sap through its vessels. Farmers and foragers tap into this flow by drilling small holes and collecting the liquid, which is mostly water with a small amount of sugar. It can take more than 40 liters of sap to produce a single liter of maple syrup. But in a good season, one mature tree may produce hundreds of liters. Sap is more than just a sweet resource for humans. It transports water and nutrients throughout the tree, fueling new growth. Watching the clear liquid drip steadily from a tap in a sunlit forest feels like seeing the tree's heartbeat, flowing in rhythm with the slow arrival of spring. There are rivers that boil. Deep in the Peruvian Amazon flows a river known as Shanai Timpishka, or the Boiling River. Its water can reach temperatures close to 100 degrees Celsius, hot enough to kill small animals that fall in. Unlike volcanic hot springs, the heat of this river comes from geothermal activity far underground, where water sinks deep into the earth, warms, and then returns to the surface. The Boiling River stretches for more than 6 kilometers, winding through dense jungle and surrounded by rising steam that curls into the canopy above. For local communities, it carries cultural and spiritual meaning. It is also a scientific curiosity, a reminder that even far from volcanoes, the Earth's internal heat can dramatically shape the landscape. Walking along its banks, you would see leaves curling from the steam and hear the bubbling water alive with heat in the middle of the rainforest. Certain animals can live entirely in darkness. In the deepest caves and ocean trenches, some creatures are born into a world without light and never leave it. These species often lose their eyes completely, relying instead on heightened senses of touch, smell, or vibration. The Mexican blind cavefish, for example, has skin capable of detecting subtle changes in water movement, allowing it to navigate and find food in total darkness. Deep-sea creatures such as the tripod fish use long fins to feel along the seafloor, sensing their surroundings without relying on vision. In these pitch-black environments, eyesight becomes useless, so energy is redirected toward other adaptations. Life in darkness may seem limiting to us, but for these animals, it is completely normal, a fully functioning existence in a world beyond the reach of sunlight. Some shells grow in perfect mathematical spirals. Many mollusks and other shell-producing animals follow growth patterns that create spirals so accurate they can be described using mathematical formulas. The nautilus, for example, builds its shell in a logarithmic spiral, adding larger chambers as it grows while keeping the same overall shape. This structure is both strong and efficient, giving the animal protection and helping control buoyancy. Similar spirals appear elsewhere in nature, in sunflowers, hurricanes, and even galaxies, suggesting a universal tendency toward certain patterns. When you hold a shell and trace the spiral inward, you are following a path that nature has repeated on vastly different scales. From the smallest seashell to the sweeping arms of the Milky Way, there are clouds that glow in the night sky. High in the atmosphere, more than 80 kilometers above the ground, delicate clouds sometimes shimmer after sunset with a silvery blue light. These are noctilucent clouds, formed when ice crystals collect on dust particles in the upper mesosphere. They are not lit by the sun directly overhead, but by sunlight coming from beyond the horizon, glowing against the deepening twilight. Most visible at high latitudes during summer, they appear almost unreal, like ghostly veils rippling across the upper sky. Scientists believe they may be becoming more common as changes in Earth's atmosphere provide more moisture at high altitudes. Watching them feels like witnessing the sky itself breathing in silver. Certain spiders can sail across the ocean. Some species of spiders use silk not only to build webs, but also to travel in a behavior known as ballooning. They release strands into the air that catch the wind and lift them from the ground. While most ballooning journeys are short, some spiders have been found hundreds of kilometers out at sea, their silk catching ocean breezes like tiny sails. Scientists think they survive by resting on floating debris and capturing airborne insects. This ability allows spiders to colonize new islands and distant coastlines, often arriving as some of the first inhabitants after volcanic eruptions or other disturbances. Watching one rise into the air, carried upward by nothing more than a thread, feels like witnessing the start of an unlikely voyage. Some animals can survive for years without food. In extreme environments, survival sometimes means enduring long periods without eating. The olm, a cave-dwelling salamander found in parts of Europe, can go without food for up to 10 years by drastically slowing its metabolism. Crocodiles and certain snakes can survive for more than a year without feeding, living off stored body fat. Even tiny creatures such as tardigrades can enter a dormant state called cryptobiosis, almost completely stopping biological activity until conditions improve. These strategies are not only about endurance, they allow animals to survive in habitats where food appears in rare and unpredictable bursts, showing that patience can be just as important as speed in the natural world. There are forests beneath the ocean. Along the coasts of many continents exist vast underwater kelp forests, gently swaying with ocean currents. Giant kelp can grow more than half a meter per day, reaching heights of over 30 meters and forming a submerged canopy that shelters fish, sea otters, and countless other species. These underwater forests act as nurseries for marine life and help protect shorelines by reducing the force of incoming waves. Sunlight streaming through the kelp gives the water an emerald glow, and the slow movement of the fronds can feel almost hypnotic to divers. Like forests on land, they are complex ecosystems, except here the trees are made of flexible, leaf-like blades anchored to the ocean floor. Certain birds can sleep while flying. Some birds, such as the frigate bird, can remain in the air for days or even weeks without landing. Scientists have discovered that they are able to rest by shutting down one half of their brain at a time, allowing them to continue flying while still getting some sleep. This unihemispheric, slow-wave sleep lets them glide smoothly, riding air currents while staying alert enough to navigate and avoid danger. Even when deeply asleep, they may continue circling on rising thermals, barely moving their wings. This adaptation allows them to travel huge distances without stopping, turning the sky itself into their resting place. Some rocks can sing when the wind passes over them. In certain desert landscapes, steady winds can cause large boulders or dunes to vibrate, producing deep, resonant sounds that can carry for kilometers. These singing rocks or booming dunes create tones that may continue for minutes after being disturbed. The sound is caused by grains of sand or rock surfaces rubbing together in just the right way. Marco Polo once described hearing such sounds in the Gobi Desert centuries ago. The effect is haunting, a natural low hum that seems to rise from the earth itself, as if the landscape were breathing a slow, rumbling song into the air. There are deserts made of pure white sand. Not all deserts are colored like golden wheat. In southern New Mexico lies White Sands National Park, a vast landscape of brilliant white dunes stretching as far as the eye can see. The sand here is made of gypsum crystals, a mineral that rarely forms large dune fields because it dissolves easily in water. But in this desert basin, there is nowhere for water to drain away. When ancient lakes evaporated, they left behind thick layers of gypsum. Over thousands of years, wind shaped these deposits into rippling dunes that sparkle under sunlight and glow pale blue under moonlight. Walking here can feel like stepping onto snow, except the air is warm and the ground crunches softly beneath your feet. The brightness is so intense, it can be seen from space, creating a shining desert unlike any other on Earth. Some jellyfish can live forever. The tiny jellyfish, Turritopsis dawni, has an extraordinary ability. When stressed, injured, or near death, it can revert its cells to an earlier stage of life and restart its life cycle. Instead of dying, it essentially transforms back into a juvenile polyp and begins growing again. This process, called transdifferentiation, allows it to potentially avoid death from old age, making it biologically immortal, although it can still be eaten or die from disease. Found in oceans around the world, these jellyfish measure only a few millimeters across, with nearly transparent bodies. While immortality is more a survival strategy than a guarantee, it is a remarkable reminder that even something as final as aging can sometimes be rewritten in nature. Certain ants farm their own food. Leafcutter ants are among the most industrious farmers on Earth. They cut and carry pieces of leaves back to their underground colonies, not to eat directly, but to feed a special type of fungus they cultivate in carefully maintained gardens. The fungus breaks down tough plant material into nutrients the ants can digest. This relationship is so precise that the fungus cannot survive without the ants, and the ants cannot survive without the fungus. Colonies can contain millions of individuals, each performing specific tasks, from cutting leaves to tending gardens and defending the nest. It is a complete agricultural system hidden beneath the forest floor, perfected over millions of years, long before humans began farming. There are flowers that smell like rotting meat. Some plants attract pollinators, not with sweet fragrances, but with the strong odor of decay. The corpse flower, Amorphophallus titanum, can grow more than 3 meters tall and releases a powerful scent that mimics rotting flesh. This smell attracts carrion beetles and flesh flies, insects that normally seek out dead animals to lay their eggs. Instead, they help pollinate the flower. The bloom is rare, often appearing only once every several years and lasting just a few days. During this time, the plant heats itself to spread the smell farther. For those who can tolerate the odor, it is an unforgettable sight. A massive and otherworldly bloom that uses deception to attract its helpers. Some trees can survive complete fires. In fire-prone regions, certain trees have evolved to withstand even intense blazes. Giant sequoias in California, for example, have thick, spongy bark that can reach up to 60 centimeters in thickness, insulating them from heat. Some species of eucalyptus and pine protect their buds beneath bark layers, allowing them to regrow quickly after fire. For many trees, fire is not only survivable, but necessary. It clears away competing plants and helps seeds germinate. Sequoia cones, for instance, open in response to heat, releasing seeds onto freshly cleared, nutrient-rich soil. These adaptations transform destruction into opportunity, ensuring that fire becomes not an ending, but a new beginning. There are animals that can see Earth's magnetic field. Some species, including certain birds, sea turtles, and even dogs, appear to sense the planet's magnetic field. This ability, known as magnetoreception, is believed to come from special proteins in their eyes or tiny magnetic particles within their bodies. Birds use it to navigate during migration. Sea turtles rely on it to return to their birthplace, and some mammals may use it to orient themselves while traveling. For these animals, the magnetic field acts like an invisible map layered over the world, guiding them across vast distances. It is a sense humans can only imagine, a constant awareness of invisible lines that wrap around the planet. Certain lakes are so clear that you can see for hundreds of feet. Some bodies of water remain so pure and undisturbed that visibility reaches astonishing depths. Blue Lake in New Zealand, for example, is considered the clearest natural freshwater lake in the world, with visibility extending up to 80 meters. This clarity comes from water filtered through layers of rock and sand, removing almost all suspended particles. In places like this, looking into the water feels like staring through glass into another world. Schools of fish appear to float in midair, and the colors of the lake bed stand out with striking sharpness. Such pristine waters are rare and fragile, easily clouded by even minor disturbances. Some whales sing songs that travel across entire oceans. Humpback whales are famous for their haunting melodies, long and complex sequences of sounds that can last for hours. These songs can travel for hundreds and sometimes thousands of kilometers through the deep ocean, carried efficiently by water. Males sing most often during the breeding season, and the songs can change over time, spreading through whale populations like evolving folk music. Scientists believe these songs may help attract mates, establish territory, or allow communication over great distances. Listening to a whale song recorded far from shore feels like hearing a voice from another world, slow and powerful, resonating with the vastness of the sea. There are storms that produce blue lightning. While most lightning appears white or yellow, certain volcanic eruptions can create vivid blue bolts. This phenomenon, known as volcanic lightning, occurs when ash particles within eruption clouds collide and build up electrical charges. The blue color comes from the ionization of volcanic gases such as sulfur dioxide. These rare storms are both beautiful and dangerous, their eerie glow lighting up rolling ash plumes. Seen against a dark sky, blue lightning can look almost unnatural, as if the volcano itself was summoning fire from another realm. Certain mosses can survive in space. Some species of moss and other simple plants have demonstrated an extraordinary ability to endure the harsh conditions of outer space. In experiments conducted on the International Space Station, mosses exposed to vacuum, radiation, and extreme temperature shifts were able to revive once returned to normal conditions. Their resilience comes from specialized proteins and cellular structures that protect against dehydration and damage to DNA. This ability makes them valuable subjects for research into how life might survive on other planets. The fact that a small green carpet of moss can endure where almost nothing else can is a quiet yet powerful reminder of life's persistence. Some mushrooms glow in the dark. In forests around the world, certain fungi produce a soft and eerie light known as bioluminescence. This glow is created by a chemical reaction involving luciferin, an organic compound also found in fireflies. Scientists believe this light may attract insects that help spread fungal spores, or it may discourage animals that would otherwise feed on them. The brightest examples, such as foxfire fungi in North America or Mycena chlorophyll mushrooms in Asia, can illuminate the forest floor with a ghostly green glow on dark nights. For centuries, travelers told stories about glowing logs in the woods, not realizing they were witnessing living fungi at work. Walking through such a forest feels otherworldly, as if the ground itself was scattered with fallen stars glowing softly until dawn. There are plants that can live entirely underwater, while many plants can tolerate temporary flooding. Some species are fully adapted to spend their entire lives submerged. Aquatic plants such as eelgrass, pondweed, and certain types of water lilies have evolved thin, flexible leaves that move with currents and specialized tissues that transport oxygen from leaves to roots. These plants perform photosynthesis just like land plants, but they absorb dissolved carbon dioxide from the water instead of the air. In clear, shallow lakes, dense underwater meadows create habitats for fish, amphibians, and countless invertebrates. They also help stabilize sediments and keep water clean by absorbing excess nutrients. Although hidden from view, these underwater gardens are just as important to their ecosystems as any forest above the surface. Certain insects migrate farther than any other animal. Every year, tiny globe-skimmer dragonflies begin an epic journey of more than 18,000 kilometers, traveling from India across the Indian Ocean to Africa and then back again. This migration, completed across multiple generations, may be the longest known journey of any insect. Monarch butterflies also make remarkable trips, flying thousands of kilometers from Canada and the United States to wintering grounds in central Mexico. These migrations are guided by environmental signals such as temperature, day length, and even Earth's magnetic field. For such small creatures, the endurance and navigation skills required are extraordinary. Their journeys cover distances that challenge even the largest animals, proving that size places no limit on ambition in the natural world. Some rivers disappear underground and reappear miles away, in karst landscapes where limestone bedrock is filled with cracks and caves. Rivers can vanish beneath the surface, flowing unseen through underground passages before emerging far downstream. The Puerto Princesa underground river in the Philippines travels for more than 8 kilometers below ground before emptying into the sea. In some locations, explorers can follow these hidden waterways through vast underground chambers where ceilings sparkle with mineral formations. These disappearing rivers shape both the land above and below, carving tunnels, feeding springs, and creating unique ecosystems in darkness and where the water returns to daylight. There are forests where the trees all share the same root system. Some groves are not made up of separate individuals at all. Instead, they are a single organism connected underground. Aspen forests, for example, can grow from one shared root network, sending up new trunks known as suckers. Above the surface, each tree appears separate, but below ground they are genetically identical and share resources such as water and nutrients. The largest known example is a quaking aspen colony in Utah called Pando, which covers more than 40 hectares and is estimated to be thousands of years old. This underground connection allows the forest to recover quickly from damage as new shoots rise to replace what has been lost. Certain flowers change color to attract different pollinators. Some flowers shift their colors as they age, sending visual signals to visiting insects. The tropical plant Lantana camara, for example, opens with yellow blossoms that later turn orange and red. Pollinators, such as butterflies and bees, quickly learn that younger flowers contain more nectar, while older ones are less rewarding. This color change helps ensure that pollinators focus on the flowers most likely to be fertile, improving the plant's chances of reproduction. In some alpine species, flowers change color after pollination to signal that pollinators should not waste their time. It is a quiet visual conversation between plant and animal. Some mountains are made entirely of salt. In certain regions of the world, ancient seas evaporated millions of years ago, leaving behind massive salt deposits. Over time, tectonic forces pushed these layers upward, forming mountains. Iran's Kuh-e-Namak, or Salt Mountain, is a striking example, with gleaming white slopes streaked with mineral colors. In Bolivia, the world's largest salt flat, Salar de Uyuni, also contains raised ridges of pure salt along its edges. These salt mountains are slowly shaped by wind and rain, revealing crystalline structures and sometimes even caves within. Their existence is a reminder that places which now rise high above the land were once ocean floors. There are plants that remember past droughts. Some plants have the ability to adjust their growth and water use based on past experiences of drought. Scientists have discovered that after a period of severe dryness, certain plants can retain the memory of stress through changes in their gene expression. If another drought occurs, they react more quickly, closing their leaf pores to conserve water and activating protective chemical processes. This memory does not involve a brain, but instead relies on stored chemical signals that remain long after the original event. Such adaptations allow plants to survive in unpredictable climates, where resilience can mean the difference between survival and withering away. Certain fish can leap up waterfalls. During spawning migrations, some fish must travel upstream against powerful currents, jumping up waterfalls to reach their breeding grounds. Salmon are the most famous for this feat, launching themselves with remarkable precision to land in pools above each cascade. Smaller species such as gobies in Hawaii climb waterfalls using suction cup-like fins, slowly inching their way up sheer rock faces. These migrations are exhausting but essential, ensuring the fish return to the exact environments where they were born. Watching a fish repeatedly hurl itself at a roaring waterfall is a powerful display of determination in the face of gravity itself. Some deserts have lakes hidden deep below the sand. Beneath the barren surfaces of certain deserts lie vast underground reservoirs known as aquifers. In places like the Sahara, these hidden lakes can stretch for hundreds of kilometers, holding ancient water that fell as rain thousands of years ago. At times, this water reaches the surface through springs or oases, creating pockets of green in an otherwise lifeless expanse. In other cases, it remains trapped far below, revealed only through deep drilling. These underground lakes act as lifelines for people, animals, and plants, proving that even in the harshest landscapes, the potential for life-giving water can remain quietly stored, waiting for its moment to return. There are animals that can survive in both boiling and freezing water. Some of the most extreme survivors on Earth live in conditions that swing between scorching heat and bitter cold. Certain species of extremophile microbes thrive in deep-sea hydrothermal vents where temperatures can exceed 100 degrees Celsius, yet can also endure near-freezing waters between eruptions. Antarctic icefish survive in sub-zero seas thanks to antifreeze proteins in their blood, and similar adaptations exist in species that tolerate high heat as well. Tardigrades, microscopic water bears, can survive both boiling temperatures and being frozen solid by entering a state called cryptobiosis, where their bodies dry out and metabolic activity nearly stops. These creatures demonstrate that life's boundaries are far more flexible than we imagine, enduring conditions that would destroy most living things and thriving where extremes exist side by side. Certain birds navigate using the stars. For thousands of years, migratory birds have traveled vast distances with astonishing accuracy. Some species, such as the indigo bunting, use the position of constellations around the North Star to orient themselves at night. Even young birds raised in captivity without previous migration experience can recognize these celestial cues. In the southern hemisphere, other stars serve as navigational markers. Birds combine this starlight map with their sense of Earth's magnetic field and the position of the Sun to form a multi-layered navigation system. Experiments in planetariums have shown that changing star patterns can confuse them, confirming that the night sky itself acts as their guide. It is a skill that predates human navigation, written into instinct and refined across countless migrations. Some animals use tools to solve problems. Tool use was once believed to be uniquely human, but many animals have proven otherwise. Chimpanzees strip leaves from twigs to create termite fishing rods. Sea otters use stones to crack open shellfish on their chests while floating. Crows drop nuts onto roads for cars to crush, then retrieve them when it is safe. Dolphins have even been observed carrying marine sponges over their snouts to protect themselves while foraging along sharp coral. These behaviors often require learning, creativity, and sometimes teaching across generations. Tool use blurs the line between instinct and problem solving, showing that intelligence takes many forms in the animal kingdom and that we share more with other species than we might expect. There are caves that breathe. In some cave systems, air appears to move in and out as if the cave itself were alive. This breathing occurs when outside air pressure changes because of weather or temperature shifts, forcing air into or out of cave openings. In large cave networks, the effect can be surprisingly strong, powerful enough to rustle leaves, move dust, or even blow out candles near entrances. Mammoth Cave in Kentucky and Wind Cave in South Dakota are well known for this phenomenon. Stepping into one of these caves and feeling cool air flowing from the earth is a reminder that underground spaces are not static, but connected to the living atmosphere above. Certain trees release scents to warn others of danger. When attacked by insects, some trees emit airborne chemicals that drift to nearby trees of the same species. These neighboring trees detect the signal and respond by producing bitter or toxic compounds in their leaves, making themselves less appealing to pests. Acacia trees in Africa are known for this behavior, filling the air with warning signals that can prompt entire stands of trees to defend themselves almost simultaneously. The same chemicals may also attract predators or parasites that target the attacking insects. It is a silent alarm system carried by the wind, turning a forest into a community that protects its members. Some oceans have underwater rivers and waterfalls. Beneath the sea surface, differences in temperature, salinity, and density can create currents that flow like rivers along the ocean floor. In some locations, these underwater rivers plunge over ledges, forming submerged waterfalls. The largest known example lies in the Denmark Strait between Greenland and Iceland, where dense, cold Arctic water flows beneath warmer Atlantic water, dropping nearly 3.5 kilometers, more than 3 times the height of Angel Falls. These hidden flows shape ocean circulation, transport nutrients, and influence global climate patterns. They are rivers and waterfalls that remain invisible unless explored deep below the surface. There are animals that can see in complete darkness. In the deep ocean and lightless caves, some animals have eyes adapted to detect the faintest traces of light, or can perceive their surroundings without light at all by sensing other signals. Certain deep-sea fish have enormous sensitive eyes that detect bioluminescence, while others, such as some snakes, sense infrared heat signatures from prey. Cats and owls possess specialized retinas and reflective layers behind their eyes that amplify limited light for nighttime hunting. These adaptations allow animals to navigate, feed, and communicate in environments where human vision would register only darkness. Certain plants can release heat. Some plants, such as the eastern skunk cabbage, generate enough heat to melt surrounding snow in early spring. This ability, called thermogenesis, comes from rapid chemical reactions inside plant cells that produce warmth instead of storing energy. The heat helps attract pollinators by releasing scent and making flowers more active in cold weather. In tropical regions, other plants use heat to intensify their fragrance, drawing pollinators from greater distances. Though rare, this ability shows that plants can influence temperature in ways usually associated only with animals. Some rocks are older than the continents. Across Earth lie mineral grains called zircons that date back more than 4 billion years, older than the oldest known continental crust. These tiny crystals, often no larger than grains of sand, formed when the planet was still young, shortly after the surface cooled enough for liquid water to exist. Found in regions such as Western Australia, zircons have survived erosion, burial, and geological recycling, carrying chemical clues about Earth's earliest conditions. Holding one is like holding a fragment of the planet's childhood. There are insects that can walk on water. Water striders, with their long, delicate legs, skim across ponds and streams without sinking. This is possible because their legs are covered in microscopic hairs that repel water and work with surface tension. Using rapid, controlled movements, they glide to catch prey or escape predators. Watching them dart across calm water looks like tiny skaters performing on a liquid stage, each movement creating perfect ripples behind them. Certain forests can make their own clouds. In some tropical regions, vast forests help generate the clouds that hover above them. Trees release water vapor through transpiration, sending moisture into the air. When this vapor cools, it condenses into clouds. In dense forests, such as the Amazon, this cycle repeats daily. These clouds provide rain for the forest and influence weather far beyond, carrying moisture thousands of kilometers away. Scientists have observed that deforestation can reduce cloud formation, altering entire climate systems. From above, these forest-made clouds appear like soft blankets floating over green seas of leaves, each one created by countless tiny breaths from the living world below. Some animals can recognize themselves in mirrors. Self-recognition was once thought to belong only to humans, but several animals pass the mirror test. When shown a reflection, great apes, dolphins, elephants, and even certain birds, such as magpies, use it to inspect parts of their bodies they cannot normally see. This behavior suggests a level of self-awareness, the understanding of "this is me." In experiments, animals marked with harmless spots often use mirrors to investigate or attempt to remove them. While not all species succeed, those that do hint at forms of consciousness we are only beginning to understand. There are plants that can eat small animals. Carnivorous plants, such as the Venus flytrap, sundew, and pitcher plant, have evolved to trap and digest animals, mostly insects, but sometimes even small frogs or lizards. They live in nutrient-poor soils, so they obtain extra nitrogen and minerals from prey. Each species uses a different hunting method: sticky surfaces, snapping traps, or deep pitchers filled with digestive fluid. Once captured, prey is broken down slowly over days as the plant absorbs what it needs. These adaptations are not about aggression, but survival, allowing plants to thrive where others would starve. Certain lakes contain water so dense it is almost impossible to sink. In hypersaline lakes, such as the Dead Sea between Israel and Jordan, salt concentrations make the water far denser than the human body. This allows people to float effortlessly without treading water. The same properties make these lakes hostile to most aquatic life, though some microorganisms still survive. Swimming in such water feels strange, more like resting on a thick cushion than moving through liquid. The buoyancy is so strong it can hold the body upright without effort. Some birds build structures more complex than human houses. Male bowerbirds in Australia construct elaborate bowers to attract mates, forming arched or hut-like displays decorated with shells, flowers, feathers, and colorful objects. Each male develops a personal style, arranging items by size, shape, or color. Weaver birds create intricately woven nests suspended from branches with narrow entrances designed to deter predators. These avian architects work with precision and creativity, building structures that rival human craftsmanship in beauty and complexity. There are stones that grow over time. In parts of Romania, unusual rock formations called trovons appear to grow, slowly changing shape over decades. After heavy rain, mineral-rich water seeps through their porous structure, depositing material that forms new layers. Although the growth is extremely slow, only a few millimeters per year, it challenges the idea of rocks as completely unchanging. Over centuries, these stones can grow large enough to split or develop strange bulbous forms, as if the landscape itself were alive. Certain creatures have existed unchanged for hundreds of millions of years. Some species are so well adapted that they have remained nearly the same across vast spans of time. Horseshoe crabs have existed for more than 400 million years, surviving multiple mass extinctions. The coelacanth, a deep-sea fish once believed extinct, still swims today in nearly the same form it had hundreds of millions of years ago. These living fossils show that evolution does not always mean constant change. Sometimes it means discovering a design so effective that it endures. Some places on Earth have never been touched by humans. Even in the age of satellites and global travel, there are regions where no human has ever set foot. Some are remote mountain peaks, hidden caves, or deep ocean trenches. Others are isolated islands or dense rainforests that remain inaccessible. These untouched places act as time capsules, preserving ecosystems undisturbed for thousands of years. They remind us that despite our reach, much of Earth still belongs to itself. There are rivers beneath the ice of Antarctica. Beneath Antarctica's massive ice sheets, hidden rivers and lakes flow in darkness. These subglacial waters remain liquid because of geothermal heat and the immense pressure of overlying ice. Some connect large lakes, forming entire underground drainage systems. Scientists study them by drilling through the ice, revealing microbial life isolated for millions of years. These secret rivers show that even in one of the coldest and driest places on Earth, water still moves and life still persists. Some deserts sing when the wind blows over their dunes. In certain sandy deserts, steady winds and shifting grains create deep humming sounds that travel for kilometers. This booming sound effect happens when grains of specific size and dryness slide together in large numbers, producing resonant vibrations. The sound can be powerful enough to be felt in the chest, like music played by the land itself. Marco Polo described such sounds in the Gobi Desert centuries ago, and they remain among the strangest natural phenomena. And so our slow journey through nature's hidden wonders comes to a gentle close. We have wandered from ancient trees to glowing bays, from singing deserts to breathing forests, discovering that life's creativity has no limits. Some stories revealed survival, organisms adapting to extremes and finding ways to live where life seems impossible. Others revealed beauty, patterns, colors, and landscapes that appear painted simply to be seen. Many spoke of mystery, things only partly understood, leaving space for wonder to grow. As you rest now, you might imagine the soft pulse of a bioluminescent bay, or the slow rise of clouds formed by forest breath. You might drift through underwater kelp forests, or stand beneath ancient trees that have witnessed countless seasons. The world is full of places you may never visit, yet they exist all the same, thriving and shifting, holding their secrets. And often, wonder is closer than we think, waiting in falling rain or rustling leaves. Thank you for sharing this quiet time. If you are still awake, you may continue watching. But if your eyes grow heavy, let your thoughts drift. Nature will remain here when you wake, patient, timeless, and endlessly full of stories. Good night.